finally. Okay, this should work. Just open the chat. All right, somebody, can you please repeat the question? The deadline for both assignments is tomorrow. Tomorrow at 11:59. So that's the first question. All right. So please, in the first half of the session, could you ask questions about the assignments themselves, about physics and maths? And in the second half of the session, can you ask about like admin things, like this? This is an admin issue. When do you submit? You submit tomorrow at 23:59. So Thursday, 23:59 is the deadline. Okay. So yes, Mr. Moderator, I have made you co-host. Please check that you can. Yes. Okay. May I double check the line? Question 13 on physics. So question 13 on physics. Happy to go through. Ideally, if you ask specific questions, not just can you explain a question 13, like how do you calculate the acceleration in question 13, for example, or what do you need to do to find the forces? Okay, question 13. A system of three identical balls is connected, suspended in the on a thread as shown in the diagram. The thread is cut. Find the acceleration of the balls immediately thereafter. Well, let's imagine a system with one ball. So there's a thread, there's a spring, and there's a ball. Let's consider a two-ball system. Okay, so two balls and a spring and a thread. So what you need to do is draw the balls before and after. So before, the top ball, you have a tension, let's call it T string. And then there is tension here from this spring, T, well, spring T2. Okay, let's call it T1, T2. And there's a gravitational force, mg. Now these forces are balanced. So acceleration is 0. Acceleration is 0. On the bottom, you have mg, and you have T2, which is the same. And the forces are balanced, so acceleration is also 0. After you cut the rope, what changes? What changes when you cut the rope? Well, T1 disappears. Once you cut the rope, T1 disappears, and now you have two forces, T2 and mg, and obviously they're not balanced, so acceleration is greater than 0. This one? I don't know. You tell me. You tell me what happens here. Okay. So your task is to find that acceleration. So you need to find acceleration of each ball. So if you draw the forces on each ball, so top ball, bam, bam, bam. Now this force suddenly disappears and the ball starts accelerating downwards. What about this one, these two? I don't know. You need to work that out. What happens? So that's how you do problem 13. Does that help, Chloe? Yeah. Okay. So we submitted by then, yes. Can you please assign me as? Yes, I have done that. I did not quite know how to do question one. Question one for physics. Let's have a look. Well, you have two paths. Two paths. So a drone is traveling that way, and a missile is moving that way. They don't meet, but as the drone travels, at some point they will be at their closest. So for example, after 0 seconds, 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 6 seconds, 7 seconds, 8 seconds. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it looks like at 4 seconds they would be the closest, right? After 4 seconds. And that's what you need to find. You need to find at what moment in time are they closest to each other. So they won't cross path. The paths cross, but at different times. And your task is to find that the minimal distance between them. Could you explain the tension unit? Tension unit. I don't understand the question. Sorry. Can you assume G to be 9.8? Use 10. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter for what you put. Use 10 or 9.8 or 9.81, 10 or 9.8 or 9.81, whichever you like, or just G. I can leave the answer as G. Yeah, like if you have a force of, you can, I mean, it's complete, an answer as in the force is equal to 7G is a completely valid answer. 7G newtons, for example. So you don't have to work it out. Okay. You don't have to substitute. Tension. No tension from string. Yes, thanks. Sir, can you do 10? Well, I can't do 10, but I can give you a hint on 10. Certainly. Well, look, on 10 you just need to carefully draw each body and the forces acting on them. So for example, for the top body, there's the gravitational force, m1g. There's the friction force, force of friction, and there's the normal reaction force. And then you do the same for the second object. Now, it's going to be a bit complicated because the second object interacts with the ground, with the surface, and with the top block. So there will be more forces here. So gravity, m2g, there's a friction force here. Friction, that's a second friction force. There's a normal reaction force. And there are two more forces which I'm not going to draw. Two more forces. So think carefully what they are, and then you'll solve it. Remain stationary. Maybe. I think that was regarding the first question. Can you go question 4 on physics? Question 4 on physics. Okay. Let's assume that the second part of the question is just not there. How do you know if you can hit the balloon? What's the one thing that you need to know about the shell in order to say whether it will hit the balloon or not? Kinetic energy, yes, or simply not necessarily kinetic energy. If we don't know the mass, for example, of the shell, which we don't. Velocity, of course. If you know the velocity, you know whether it will reach. So if it's in a height of 6 kilometers, that's what you need to know. And then second of all, it says the length of the barrel is 2 meters. What is the acceleration? What is the acceleration to what? It's the acceleration to reach that velocity. Yeah, it would be correct to assume the final velocity is 0. No, it's a velocity inside the barrel. Because it has two sections. It's when it's inside the barrel, when it's being shot, and it's accelerating. And then it's, of course, it's decelerating at 9.81. And you're trying to find this acceleration. Okay, so it's one of the easy questions, honestly. It's not sophisticated. It's just yeah. It's accelerating inside the barrel. Once it's out of the barrel, it's decelerating. Okay. Question 4, physics. Question 9, physics question 9. So what you're trying to answer is, I'm just reiterating, how fast should it be fired? That's the first question you're trying to answer. What is the acceleration? What is the acceleration? Acceleration inside the barrel. Okay. Question 9 on physics. Look, all these questions are done by resolving the forces. Okay. Just draw all the forces. Draw all forces acting on the block. Resolve forces along up the slope and perpendicular to the slope. So you have mg, you have the force F. So this can be broken down into two components. So F parallel to the slope and F perpendicular to the slope. Not a very good way of doing it, but yeah. So you just draw the forces. So there's the mg, there's F, there's the normal reaction force, and there's the friction force. And then you just resolve the forces along the slope and perpendicular to the slope. And yeah. In the first case, acceleration must be 0. And then B is something else. So I hope that helps. I don't think I can go any further than that. 10. I've explained 10. Well, I've explained what you need to do about 10. You need to draw the forces. So this has 3 forces, this has 5 forces acting on it. So you need to work out what the forces are. And once you do, you will be able to find the acceleration of both of them. So yeah, 2 blocks on top of each other on a slope. Here you go. Here's a problem here's a nice friction example. 2 blocks are on an inclined plane. So I think if you watch this video, this would be very useful for you. So you can use any, just, yeah, you can use any resources that you can get your hands on. You just to be clear, you can't do, this can't be, this is not a group project, this is individual work, okay? So all the submission you do, it has to be your own work, but you are allowed to talk to others about this. You can discuss how to go about problem 4, for example, what to do in problem 4. But then once you've discussed it, you go home and you do it by yourself, right? You can't sit down together and solve the problem and then submit 2 identical pieces of work. If we see 2 identical pieces of work, we'll be very unhappy and we'll probably have questions for you. You actually, if you submit identical work to somebody else, you might be disqualified. Okay, so it has to be your own work. Could you go over question 9? Question 10. I've talked about question 10. If you've missed that, you can watch the recording later. Can you go over question 2? Question 2. That's a tough one. It's a really, really difficult one. So imagine the plane. The plane is here, and the sound waves travel outwards from that point. But the plane is moving. The plane is moving. Let's say in 3 seconds, the plane has traveled 1,500 meters. But the sound from that point has only traveled, well, 900 or 1,990 meters. So if you're standing here, by the time the plane travels from A to B, the sound would only have reached you standing 990 meters. So when you're standing here, when the plane is at B, you would hear as if the plane is at A. And that's what you need to use. You need this this triangle. Okay. And it might be a special type of triangle. Well, this is not with 1500. It's 8 seconds. So we know that this is 8. So this is 8 times 330. We know this distance. This distance is 8 times the speed of the plane. And then you can work out the height. Oh, find the speed of the plane. Oh, we know the height. The height is 3,000 meters. Yeah, so if this is you, and the sound is traveling like this. By the time the sound reaches you, the plane will be all over here, and that's what you need to use. Question 13, maths. Okay. Well, first of all, you need to draw it. Octahedron. So an octahedron is two square-based pyramids placed on top of each other. Okay, and you need to find, well, this angle, theta. Building one helps. Okay, so you can have so this is a square-based pyramid. If you made an if you want an octahedron, you just add 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this is a regular octahedron because it has 8 sides. And you need the angle between these two faces. Well, maybe you need to find the distance between these 2 points. And that gives you a triangle. Yes, that gives you this triangle. And from that triangle, you can work out. If you find the distance between these 2 points, and then you have this distance, and yeah, from you can use the cosine rule to work out the angle. Okay. Or you can find the coordinates of each point. You can find the coordinates of this point, this point, this point, and you have 2 vectors. Let's say vector A and vector B. And then cosine theta is A times B divided by modulus A modulus B. You can use that formula, or you can use the cosine rule or cosine rule. So you can find this distance between these two, this and this, and if you can use this triangle to find. So off you go. Can you please go through question 6 as well? Only the acceleration is given. Question 6. That's physics, I'm guessing. Ah, I like this question, yeah. A sleeper train is approaching a station at 144 kilometers an hour. How far from the station must the driver apply the brakes to ensure smooth acceleration so that the passengers don't fall out of the beds? Coefficient of friction. Yeah. Well, draw a person and draw the forces acting on that person. So there's a person on a bed, and the person is the person accelerating? Well, yeah, they are. They are accelerating because the train is slowing down, so it's that's acceleration. What force causes them to accelerate? And once you figure that out, you will find out. You can work out what is the maximum deceleration it can. How what is the maximum deceleration so that don't slide on the bed. Because obviously, if the train suddenly stops, you'll just fly off the bed, right? So how fast can you decelerate without falling off the bed? That's what we're trying to work out. Okay. So look, if I put my calculator. I put my calculator on top of a book. The book is the bed, and the calculator is me. So if I'm going really fast and I suddenly stop, I'll fly off the bed. But if I stop gently, I don't fall off the bed. So that's what you need to figure out. The trick in this question, and why this question is hard, is to work out what is causing you to slow down. And once you figure that out, it's an easy problem, really easy. That's why it's a 1 mark question. Okay. Can you please help with question 10 physics? I think I've discussed that. Yeah. I can't explain any further as long as you need to explain or find all the forces and write down Newton's second law. Once you do that, then it's solved. I don't know how to go about question 2. I think we've discussed that. Yeah. I was supposed to end up with the numerical answer for 11 physics or just an expression. 11. It's an expression in terms of F, X, and L. So it's an expression in terms of, I'll copy that question. It's an expression in terms of F, X, L. Can you please explain what math assignment question 15 means by then lines SD and BF, as they don't intersect one another? Okay. Question 15, maths. Well, yeah, lines can still have an angle between, even if they don't intersect. That's perfectly fine. That's a good question. Thank you. So what happens is, so here you have two lines. Okay. Okay, so here the lines are parallel. Here the lines intersect, right? They cross. There's a third option. They're not parallel and they do not intersect. Okay. To find the angle between them, you need to find a parallel line to the first one that actually intersects them. So like this. You find a second line which is parallel to the second one, but it does intersect, and you find the angle between them. Okay? Or simply put, if you have one line L1, and you find L2, find any vector parallel to L1. Let's call it V1. And find any vector parallel to L2. Let's call it V2. And then find the angle between the two vectors. And the angle between two vectors, find angle between vectors V1 and V2. And for that, we have cos theta is V1, V2 over V1, V2 modulus, no modulus. Can you help with question 8 physics? Have I not done this one already? Question 8 physics. A wooden block is launched up inclined. It was V again. Okay. Well, if you launch a block up the slope with velocity v, it will slow down. It will slow down and then accelerate. And accelerate backwards. And yeah, so velocity time. So it goes v, probably something like this. Does the deceleration change? Probably. Then goes, yeah, so something like that. The line's not necessarily straight. How long is this session for? Well, hopefully we'll be done in an hour and a bit, maybe hour 15. But if I have lots of questions, it might be an hour and a half. Would it be correct to assume final velocity is 0? Yeah, with the balloon, yes, that would be good. So the acceleration is yes. Is there acceleration due to gravity when the shell is in the barrel? Well, you tell me. Is there? Well, if it's accelerated, does it matter? So would it be a huge difference if there was no gravity and you're still shooting the shell? Like, does gravity make a difference on how fast a shot is fired? Try to evaluate this. Okay. Could you give hints on physics question 2? Can you do question? Watch Okay. Sorry. That's question 2. That's the supersonic jet. Yeah. So I've done that one. Can you tell us how to approach problem 16? Problem 16. Problem 16. You approach problem 16 as you approach any problem on dynamics. Okay, so you approach problem 16 as you approach any problem on dynamics. What you need to do is you draw 3 different objects. You draw A, and you draw the forces acting on A. So that would be tension, gravity. Is there friction? I'm not sure. Rough planes, yes, so there's friction. Okay. If it's going up, moving up their planes, yeah, so moving up, and there's normal reaction. Normal reaction, tension, friction, mg. And for you do the same for B. It's normal reaction, tension, friction, gravity. And then you do the same for P. So there's gravity, tension, tension. Oh, that's it. And then yeah. And once you do that, you just need to write down the equations in the vertical and horizontal direction. Well, for A is in this direction and in this direction. So this is the X and this is the Y. For this one would probably I would do this X this way, Y this way. And for this one, obviously, well, it's just Y because it doesn't. You can only move up and down, so it doesn't. You don't need to resolve anything. Okay. So yes, when you're on a slope, it's good to resolve. So X is in direction of the slope and Y is perpendicular to the slope. Here, X, I would put X in this direction and Y in this direction. And then you just resolve the forces. Tuk, tuk. Oh, that's, yeah. Okay. Tangent radius circle. I'm not sure what that means. Will units be important for answers? Well, yes, units are very important. But I mean, are you asking, can you do answer in centimeters rather than meters? Yes, of course. You can use any valid units. Any valid. You can use any valid units. Try not to measure time in fortnights. There was a joke like, can you express acceleration in milliparsecs per fortnight? Squared, of course. Use any valid units. Ideally, SI units. Yeah, SI units, Système International d'Unité. Unités? I don't know. I'm not very good at French. Could you help with question 6 on maths? Let's have a look. Question 6 on maths. Find the length of the angle bisector of triangle if ABC and angle is alpha. So A, B, C. AB is C, AC is B, and this angle is alpha. Well, one thing you could do is you can place this on a coordinate system, right? Choose a coordinate system choose a coordinate system. So for example, if you put AB on the x-axis and C would be somewhere here, you can find the coordinates of A, B, and C. Find the coordinate, well, A is 0, 0, B is something, something, C is something, something. Then you can find the equation of AC, for example, and then the angle bisector. So the angle is alpha over 2. And then you find it where it meets D, and then you find AD. Find AD. So find coordinates of B and C, and then find the gradient of C, of AC, half that angle. And remember, gradient is the tangent. Gradient is the tangent, so that won't be useful. Would it be wrong not to use vectors by a different method for question 13? 13 maths, I assume. Any, whatever. As long as it's any valid method is fine. Right. So no, you can use any valid method. Okay, same. I don't understand why the concept of coefficients. What are they, and why do we use them? I'm not sure what that is referring to. Coefficients. Okay. Can you please help with the last question on the maths assignment? Last question on the maths assignment. So that's well. Try placing them on a coordinate system. That usually works well. Use like similar to example 5. It's actually very similar to example 5. Question 15 on maths is, yeah. So find two vectors. So find a vector parallel to SD, find a vector parallel to BF, and then find the angle between them. So find coordinates. It's right lines as vectors, as column vectors, like x, y, and then find angle between vectors. And to find the angle between vectors, cos theta is A times B divided by modulus A modulus B. Right? I hope you understand this formula. So if A is A1, A2, and B is B1, B2. So we have two column vectors. Then cosine of the angle between them is going to be AB. So it's going to be A1, B1 plus A2, B2 divided by square root of a1 squared plus a2 squared multiplied by square root of b1 squared plus b2 squared. Okay. The question 13 is using formula for the dihedral angle. Dihedral angle. I'm not sure what you mean by the formula for dihedral angle. Formula dihedral angle. Oh yeah, of course. I mean, it's the same thing. You can use that. Okay. Could you go through problem 1 and you can after problem 2 in physics? Problem 1 physics, I think I've already done that. 1 and 2. Yeah. You can use the dot product for this, right? Yes. Question 6. Oh wow. Question 6 in maths. You know what? There's quite a few questions coming in, pouring in. At some point, I'll have to stop accepting questions. Here's the existing expression of A, B, C, C, and B. Question 6 maths. Question 6 maths. Yeah, it's going to be an expression of of alpha, C, and B. Yes. Are we meant to be able to answer all of these? Are they meant to be challenging? Okay, honestly, I if somebody does 100%, I think that I have failed. I have failed to make it sufficiently hard. Okay, so no. The questions are designed in such a way that nobody gets 100%, right? Except with very few exceptions, like exceptional exceptions. Normally, no one gets 100%. Okay. So that's. Could you explain question 12 physics? Question 12 physics. And okay. A Newton meter consists of 2 cylinders of masses m1 and m2 connected by a light spring. Find the ratio of m1 to if the force is applied with the force to the cylinder. Gravity and friction. Okay, so this problem is quite unusual because, well, for what you know about a Newton meter, if you pull a Newton meter one way with force F, there's an equal and opposite force on the other side, F, because Newton's third law. So if you, let's say, take a Newton meter, you pull it with 10 newtons of force, and there's a hook here, and then there's a block. That means that the block is being pulled with 10 newtons as well, because the Newton meter transfers the force. But here, the Newton meter has mass, and because it has mass, that means these two forces are not equal. So basically, these two pulling forces are not equal. So there's a spring. So this is M1 and M2. So the reading on the scale is the tension force in the spring. So the F, that's the tension in the spring. So you have this Newton meter. This is the first one, M1. And there's an F2. And then there is the tension force here. For the second part, this is M2. This is F1. And this is the tension force. Now, because these two forces are not equal, because F1 is not equal to F2, that means the system, it will be accelerating either left or right. We don't know. So let's assume it's accelerating to the left or right. It doesn't really matter. Let's assume it's accelerating to the right. And you can find the acceleration in terms of F1, F2, T, and yeah. And then you can work out the ratio of M1 and M2. Okay, so that's sorry, one more thing. They don't have the same acceleration. They have a different acceleration because yeah, so there's A1 and there's A2. So we don't know these accelerations. Okay. So you write down Newton's second law. You find A1 and A2, and this allows you to find M1 and M2. So that's how you do it. Okay. So, that's a really tough question. I remember how it got added to the assignment. It's interesting one. What percentage is your marker we expected to hit to get in? It's about 50%. For year 12 last year, it was about 56, I think. Normally, about 50%. Last year, it was roughly 56%. We don't know this year. We don't know. Okay. Don't two lines have two angles between them, one acute and one obtuse? Which one do we give? Normally you give the acute one, but if you give the obtuse one, we don't mark you down. Give the acute one, but we won't mark you down. For obtuse. Okay. If the not if they intersect with perpendicular. Well, yes. No, exactly using it doesn't really. I got an obtuse angle, so obtuse, I think. Look, when you find the angle between two lines, it's a matter of choice, because if you choose these two vectors, v1 and v2, let's say this angle is 60 degrees. So the cos, you would have cos theta would be minus a half, because you've chosen these two angle vectors. But if you were to choose these two vectors, you would get cos theta equals 1/2. So because it's a straight line and it really doesn't matter which one you choose, both are acceptable. Both are acceptable. Acceptable. Because indeed you have 60 degrees and you have 120 degrees, and both are the angle between the two lines. So that's fine. What would happen if I got a high percentage in math but low percentage in physics? Yeah, so going on to questions about the assignments. Yeah, so below 40, below 40% in either, uh, probably no. No. If you have if you have, yeah, above 40, but 50% average, 50% average and above, we will consider you. There you. However, 50-50 beats 62-42. Just so you know. Okay. So if you have a 50-50 score for physics and maths and somebody has 62-42, you have a better chance of getting in. All right. Even though your average percentage is lower, but because you've scored more on physics or maths, so yeah. I don't understand which angle I need to find for question 4C for maths. 4C. Okay, there's quite a few questions. Let me just copy these. I will probably answer them, and then if you have a question about the the COMPOS course or how to submit things, please ask now. Which question? Sorry. Good question. Could you help with question 11 on maths? So I'll answer these. Yes, there is partial marking. I think I've done that. Okay. Question 1 on physics I've done. Miro board link. Here you go. Oh. Do we assume that spring is massless? Yes. Yes. Is it possible to have the link on the Miro? Could you kindly tell what the Miro board link? Is it okay if you use another method? Yes. Any methods are acceptable. Was it possible? You have to get, well, I've answered that question about the 50%. Yes, so but I won't get, you will get the mark. For what? I'm not sure what that means. Okay. Yes. Weekend sessions. Yes. What will happen after this assignment? Get our results. Thank you for asking. That is a good. The working marks available. Okay. So this is the last question I won't take. Is the working marks available? So right. So all right, let's go through them one by one, and then we'll finish after that. I don't understand which angle I need to find the questions 4C in maths. 4C in maths. Let's have a look. 4C. Well, you have parallelogram ABCD, right? ABC is a parallelogram. ABCD. ABCD. M is a point on CD. N is a point on AD. Find the acute angle between AM and BN. AM and BN. So you need to find this angle. Hope that helps. I asked about, so there's two angles because there's an acute. And when two lines intersect, there's an acute angle and there's the obtuse angle, which is pi minus theta. You need this one. But if you find the other one, you'll probably still get full marks. I mean, we won't, it would be ridiculous to mark you down for not finding the acute one. I asked about gravity in the barrel because it used in an equation of motion to calculate the speed. When it's inside the barrel, the acceleration is not 9.8. Once it leaves the barrel, so inside, acceleration is question mark. Outside, acceleration is minus 9.8. That's what you need. Right. Okay. Could you help with question 11 on maths? Okay, I will take this question just so that you don't panic. I know I completely understand the caps and I'll answer it right away. It's tomorrow. You have 28 hours to 29 hours. You still have 29 hours. So you still have 29 hours. So it's tomorrow. 23:59. That's why we say 23:59, not to confuse anyone, because 23:59 can only be once. Okay. Can you help with a question 11 on maths? Maths, question 11. Question 11. Well, you draw the triangle. So basically there's a line, there's a line, there's a line. So you have a triangle. and you need to find a circle that goes through the 3 lines. I think if you draw it, it makes life easier. Is there partial marking for incorrect answers? Yes. Always yes. You can actually get an incorrect answer but still get 4 marks. Right. I don't understand what coefficient means on the physics problem 6, 7, 8, 9. Physics 6, 7, 8, 9. Coefficient of friction. Okay. So if you have an object on a rough surface, there's the gravitational force, mg, and there's the normal reaction force. If you attempt to push it, there will also be a friction force. So if there's a push, there will be a friction force. Friction force. And the friction force is less than or equal to mu times the normal reaction force. That is what the friction force is. The normal reaction force, usually the normal reaction force is the same as mg. So you can say that the friction force is less than or equal to mu mg. So let's say an object has a mass of 10 kilograms and the friction coefficient is 0.2. That means the gravitational force is 100 newtons, the normal reaction force is 100 newtons. So the friction force of friction is less than or equal to 0.2 times 100, which is 20 newtons. So that means the friction force can only be up to 20 newtons. Okay? And there's a model. So Vet forces and motion. So friction. So there's a box, and yeah. So if you push with 50 newtons, the friction is 50. When you push with 100, the friction is 100. And you can see that the friction goes up to 125. Because once it goes up to the air, it starts sliding, it starts moving. Okay, so that's for this object, because it's 50 kilograms, so it's 500 newtons and 500 newtons. And the friction force is 125 newtons, so that we can work out mu. So mu times 500 is 125, so mu is 0.25 in this case. So the coefficient of friction is 0.25. Okay, so that's the coefficient of friction. I hope that helps. Please could you go through question 12 on the physics paper? Question 12 on the physics paper. Sorry, I'm not taking any more questions. I've done that. Yeah, so you consider, okay, the best way to redraw this is bam, bam. This is M2, this is M1, this is F1, this is F2. The tension in the spring is F. This one accelerates at acceleration A1. This one accelerates at acceleration A2. Work out M1 to M2. Do we assume springiness? Yes. Did you get 50% in both physics and math overall? Overall, but we won't accept below 40%. Can we get as much help as possible? How if we can get help as much as possible, how is it graded? Well, at Compos we value hard work first of all, because we if you've done a lot of research and you worked hard to figure out what the problems are. So you've used a lot of resources, you've done research, you watched videos, you talked to other people. That's work. That means that's dedication. That's what we want you to do, right? We don't. We're not. We're not looking for talents, right? We're looking for people who like physics and who are hardworking, who can complete the assignments. And you can use any kind of resources you can get, except sitting down with someone and working through the problems. Okay, but that's not acceptable. You can't sit down with your schoolmate or with your teacher and sit down and work it out together and produce identical work. Okay, that's not. But you can talk to them. You can discuss how do you do it. How do you model, for example, in this question? You can't solve it together, but you can discuss how are you going to, what's the approach, and what I'm showing you, right? If you share this with each other, that's fine. That's not the solution. That's not giving you this. I'm not giving you the solution, just like me, right? You can use me. I'm giving you hints, but I'm not giving you the solutions. So that's the idea. The board, can somebody post the link to the board? Yeah. So yeah, you can't. You can use any resources, but it has to be your own work. Okay. Does the course have weekend session? If you have, yes, we will accommodate. Yes, we have sessions on Monday to Sunday, and we will find a session that suits you. Okay. We will ask your availability, and we'll find a tutor who can do that particular day that you want. But please try to be flexible and give us 2-3 days. Wait, so what will happen after the assignment and after we get our results? Will this be continuous assignment? And so when will it end? Okay, so the course runs from tomorrow, or 10th of October, from submission, to the 7th of July. Over this course, you have 10 assignments. So for assignment 1 is you already have 10 assignments. Every 4 weeks. 1 every 4 weeks, of course. Well, I mean, physics and maths. Physics assignments, so 10 physics plus 10 maths. Every 4 weeks. If you get in, results published, we hope, fingers crossed, 21st of October. If you get in, you get a tutor, which will do lessons in small groups. So tutorials in small groups. If you don't get in, then you still have me. You still have webinars, plus the follow along Compos. So you can still participate in Compos even if you don't get in. And if you submit your assignments, at the end of the year, you will be treated just as if you completed the whole of the COMPOS. You will receive the same letter of completion that's a letter from us saying that you have participated in COMPOS, you have completed the course. So yeah, you are just like a COMPOS graduate. So yeah, so if you do get in, you get a tutor, you have tutorials in small groups, and you have written feedback on all assignments. Okay. Yes, but less thoroughly, because that's how we determine at the end of the year. I think maybe more. About 10 students have actually completed the follow along COMPOS this year. They submitted all their assignments. We've looked through them and we've issued them places in COMPOS for next year, by the way. Yes. So some of the students who took part in COMPOS follow along, they got in year 13. So yeah. You can still submit assignments even if you don't get in. Yes, you can still submit assignments. You won't receive written feedback on those assignments, but we will check them. No written feedback. No written feedback. But recognition if you submit 75% of them. If you submit 75% plus. All right. Okay, the groups are 8. Yes, usually 8 students, but up to 10. Up to 10. Sometimes, for example, if we have a tutor that can only do Sunday and there are 10 students that can only do Sunday, then we get 10 students in a group, but typically 8. Right. I hope this was useful. I don't know. Let me know if I helped you with at least one of the questions on the assignment. Let me know if that's the case. Right. You can access the board at any time. The webinar will be published. Yes. Just to be clear, one more thing. We have webinars. So if you click on Year 12 webinars on our website, this is the timetable for webinars. And so today is the 9th, it's Q&A. And then the next one is going to be on the 23rd. Circular motion and rotational mechanics. So yeah, please check the timetable. Webinars are not every week. I can't manage every week, unfortunately. Lovely. And of course, on our YouTube channel, you can find all of the recorded webinars. Here's go. If you go to playlists, and you can see COMPOS Year 12 2024. But also, please check out COMPOS Year 12 webinars. We have 77 webinars recorded for Year 12 on all of the topics. Okay. All right. So amazing. Then see you in 2 weeks' time, and enjoy. Good luck with the submissions.